Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are going to talk about making plans for before and after reading nonfiction. And we are going to read the nonfiction book called Who Hibernates. So before we start, let's make a plan for our reading. When we read nonfiction, there are certain things that we can do to get ready to before we read. And then there are certain things that we can do after we read. So I want you to think about what we should do before we read. So before we read our book today, let's look through our book. We can ask ourselves questions. We can preview and look at the pictures and some of the words that are new to us and some of the words that we might already know. So the story is called Who Hibernates? So we could ask ourselves, who hibernates and what does it mean to hibernate? We could look at the pictures and we could ask, where do they hibernate? We can also notice some words that we already know the word families to, like den uses the short E sound. I can see some new words in here. And we can ask, what does it mean to hibernate? So let's go through, and you guys can look through your story and think of any questions that you might have about the story. And then we will see if we can answer these questions when we finish reading. Who hibernates? Bears hibernate in winter. They will hibernate in a den. The chipmunk hibernates in the burrow. He has acorns to eat. Bats hibernate in the winter. They will hibernate in their caves. The hedgehog hibernates in the leaves. The raccoon has a spot to hibernate in the tree. Snakes hibernate in the winter. They sleep in the ground. So we learned that lots of animals hibernate, and hibernate does mean to sleep. We learned that a lot of the animals hibernate in the winter, and the chipmunk keeps food. The bears hibernate in the den. The chipmunks hibernate in the burrow. The bat hibernates in the cave. The hedgehog hibernates in leaves. The raccoon hibernates in the tree. And the snake hibernates in the ground. So it looks like they all found a cozy, warm spot to sleep, to hibernate. So now, before we read, we asked ourselves some questions and previewed the text. And then after we read, we checked to see if we could answer all of our questions. Now, if you came up with any other questions, I want you to see if you can answer them too. And when you're reading nonfiction, I want you to practice making a plan before and after you read.